Good morning. And it is a good morning. We were lucky that we just caught the periphery, the edge of the typhoon. It passed us by, unfortunately, hit the Philippines and then Hong Kong pretty hard. And our thoughts and wishes are with all those. There's a very popular, maybe way too popular, I know, overpriced line of sport shoes and sportswear we're all too familiar with. Nike, with its distinctive swoosh. And their logo, which has become, unfortunately, I think, ubiquitous. And it's just do it. It's appealing to all the elements in human beings that pulls them towards human doings. Get off the couch. Get out of your meditation chair. Get out there and just do it. And you gotta look good in our footwear and in our t-shirts. Which you pay dearly for, but just by wearing them, you're cool. Everybody knows that you paid a lot for it. Everybody knows that you are doing it. That's not without its sexual connotations, is it? But I've been thinking, if I'm not careful, thinking can get me into trouble. But it also can get me out. Or assist me in adjusting it to suit my needs, tailoring it to suit my needs. But anyway, I thought a better logo would be just be, celebrating all that we are and all that we can be. Eventually will be. And I wanted to make some flip-flops. In Hawaii we call them slippers. The rest of the world, flip-flops. With just be. Somewhat prominently displayed on the slippers, on the flip-flops, as a reminder that we're human beings, not human doings. Unfortunately, most of us seem to have forgotten because life, modern life, demands of us that we're constantly doing this or doing that. Getting up, going to work, in your probably overpriced core, at least when you relate it to your income. Most of us pay too much. So at work, then we have to keep the boss happy, and if we have to do our job. And when you look at the life in that way, it can start to appear a little bit mechanical. From the time that we're young, the only time that it's socially acceptable, socially encouraged to not be doing anything, but to just being, is infancy. When we're in the crib, we can't do much. We're not expected to do much. But we quickly learn, even an infant starts doing, making certain noises that, such as crying, that will get attention from mom or dad. Get food, get fed, get picked up and held and comforted. And as we get a little bit bigger, we experiment with sounds. And when we say kaka, doo-doo, pee-pee, mama, dada, wow, the attention we get then. So we notice that mama, dada seem to get more reaction from those outside of us. Oh. And we start the process of eliminating sounds. And that's essentially what learning a language is. Before the age of 1, we're capable of making any and every sound that a human being can make. But we selectively forget. We concentrate on the ones that work. We eliminate the others, and the process of language is elimination and being specifically applying those sounds which make up words, which contain meaning. We're starting to communicate. And that's why I think that learning a foreign language, after you've eliminated so many sounds, in my attempts to learn any Chinese whatsoever, many sounds are not in my vocal toolbox. I simply can't duplicate. I do the best that I can as they repeat and repeat. And it sounds to my ear that I'm saying, exactly what they're saying, but their ear is tuned to different vocal soundings, and it just doesn't mind them, just doesn't cut it. In fact, it's so bad that when I do try to speak Chinese, other than the very simplest things, people will ask me, people around me will ask me, is that English? And I would say, no, it's Chinese. And they'll laugh and say, not any Chinese that I know. So here we are, we're doing language. And the next thing is crawling, walking, expanding our universe. Now we're mobile. And as any parent knows, at first this attempts to crawl, this mobility is cute, but they soon will find that it represents a fair amount of trouble, or at least some problems. Now we have to be more aware. We have to watch the baby because the baby might hurt itself. So it goes from the world of the crib, and as the parent, it means that the infant, it requires them to do more. And then walking, leaning on the furniture. And I can remember with my son, as his elevation grew, as he was crawling, we had to move things on the floor. As he was leaning on the furniture, beginning to stand, we had to move things up, off the coffee table, off the nightstand, off and up. And then, of course, walking. Again, it's a time for us to celebrate. Look what he's doing. Again. So, my point is that from the time we're in a crib, when we're helpless in a crib, even though it's the time that's socially acceptable to not have to do much, we're doing things. And as every parent knows, the terrible twos are not known as the terrible twos for nothing. Now the infant, the baby, can walk, get into all kinds of trouble as they start to climb. So the constant elevation of your things. Now you have them on the chest as tall as you can, the chest of drawers on top of the cabinets. And then you'll find that there's no safe areas. There's no limits to what the infant can get. So now it's time to start putting some restrictions on the child. The first of the process of socializing to your cultural standards, which will continue as long as the little being lives. And terrible twos, they first learn that word no. And then everything is no. You want to go to sleep? No. You're hungry? No. They just relish the power of no. And unfortunately, in our endless pursuit to please others, to please those around us, we forget the power of no. It's a very powerful word. And we forget we're trained to accommodate. We're trained that we want to seek acceptance from others. And no has a tendency, if said emphatically enough, has a tendency to end, to stop this interaction. And I'm suggesting that it's a word that we should keep in our vocabulary and utilize it when everything in our being is saying no. There's a time for no. And we forget, or we find acceptance, the pleasing of others to be more important than being what we discern ourselves to be. So I'm talking about this disconnect, the stressing of doing instead of at the cost of being. So here we are as infants, aware of the power of no, living in a still insular environment where mom, dad, siblings, if you're lucky, a pet, a dog or a cat, is the extent of your world. And sometimes you get to be put in a car seat and dragged out into the world. And it must be overwhelming. I think of my cat. He lives in our 4-bedroom flat or apartment. That's his world. If I open the front door, he's hesitant to go outside. It's like, wow, that's the great unknown. When he gets put in his carrier to go to the vet, it only reinforces the trauma of leaving his zone of comfort. Because the vet usually, unfortunately, is not that pleasant of an experience for the kitty. Just as our infants are taken to the doctor, maybe taken shopping, but it's loud and chaotic compared to the familiar, insular home world. And then that day of trauma, going to kindergarten, as we hold the hand of our mom and dad and meet our classmates and our teacher for the first time, and the trauma of mom or dad leaving us in the care of strangers, complete strangers. A big stranger and a whole bunch of little strangers. A teacher that you have to look up, and then you're making eye contact with all these other little creatures. And most children cry at this separation. But the message is, you must do this. You must go to school. And the biggest lesson for these children is that the world doesn't revolve around them. The concept of outsiders. Maybe they had siblings if they were lucky. But siblings, brother and sister, were a part of you, part of your home, and part of your consistent part of your environment. But now, you have some tough lessons to learn. First and foremost, you're not the center of attention. You have to share. You have to share the toys. They're not just your toys anymore. You have to take turns. You begin to learn to compliance, to be orderly. You learn to accept the constraints of time, that artificial construct that you start becoming aware of more and more frequently and more obviously as you share, as you grow in your relationship with your peers. So not only did you have to accept them, you have to cooperate. It's nap time, it's juice time, it's story time, it's go outside and play time. You hear bells that signify the changing, that signify the passing of time, and you're expected to perform activities whether or not you want to. And this continues through elementary, junior high, high school, and most likely university. And you start to, if you're paying attention, you start to see that it's not till you get to university, in a limited sense, that you're able to really pursue your own paths of knowledge. And even in university, you're really, having spent way too much time there, you're not really free to pursue what you want to. And you keep thinking at each level, maybe at masters I'll be able to have more selectivity, to be more in control of this process. And when it doesn't happen, masters, you're busy taking classes and taking tests to qualify for PhD, and you think, alas, I've gotten to where, and the whole system is set up. Not are you able to expand your horizons, you are told to focus on minute pinpoints of knowledge and information. And trust me, if you don't fit into this pigeonhole, you're either going to drop out or make some sacrifices to comply. Now you graduate, and it's time to tick-tock, tick-tock, that artificial construction of time, after all. Now it's time to get a job. Because you have to pay for at least your university education. You have to pay, you've already got bills, pressure, you have to do. And then you've got your job. And perhaps you have your eye on someone, or you are single-minded about your education and don't meet someone until you're in the job place. You meet someone that you're attracted to. And to all of you at university age now, look around while you're exposed to many, many different people in your educational environment. That's a good time to start the process of figuring out who you want to spend a great portion of your life with. You go to the workplace, and it's not the best environment for this. It's problematic to start a relationship at work, although many of us do. See? Do again. So now you have a mate. Well, mates need a nest. You need to buy a home. You need to get a mortgage that will add to your responsibility of paying your university loans off. Now you've got a mortgage. But you can say, I own a house. Well, it's pretty comical because really what you own is a mortgage. The bank or the lending institution has a house. All you have is yet another bill. And then comes children. So you have to do what you've been trained to do, and do it more vigorously because you have responsibilities. And then you spend your life working and paying. You spend your life doing. And then if you have time for recreation, it's more doing. And it's not till you retire. And retirement, for most of us, unfortunately, just means waiting to die. But if you're aware and you've been paying attention, it's now time where it's socially acceptable, it's allowable that you can start being. And I don't mean just being old. but to start asking those large metaphysical questions that you socially acceptable now to have time to meditate. Your time is finally yours. And if you watch the older people, there's a lot that still spend their time doing. In fact, most of them don't live even 5 years after they're retired because they don't know what to do and they get depressed. Rather than celebrating the freedom from doing anything, they get depressed that they're not getting up and going to work. They say they lose the sense of purpose. Because purpose is based on what you do. So I'm suggesting, don't wait. Do what you have to do to maintain the physical form. Do what life requests of you. But please don't define yourself for what you do. These are all trappings of the ego. Learn, understand that your true purpose is to be a human being. This state of just simply being. Most of us are really puzzled because we don't even know where to begin. Well, you begin at the beginning, surprise, surprise, by asking questions. And through this questioning, if you're fortunate, leads to a meditation, a time of quieting, a time of examination, a time to just be.